President Putin publicly confirmed what President Trump has said all along. The war between Russia and Ukraine never would have started in the first place if President Trump were in office. This was always obvious to any person with a shred of common sense. Just look at what took place during the last 4 administrations. Under George W. Bush, Russia invaded Georgia. Under Barack Obama, Russia took Crimea. Under Joe Biden, Russia invaded Ukraine. But under President Trump, Russia did not invade nor take anything. President Trump is the only president this century, Republican or Democrat, who has held Russia in check and ensured peace in Europe. What we've witnessed President Trump accomplish over the last few days has been nothing short of remarkable. We are now 3.5 years into the war between Russia and Ukraine, a brutal conflict that has claimed hundreds of thousands of Russian and Ukrainian lives and cost trillions of dollars. The weakness and incompetence of Joe Biden foolishly allowed the killing to start in the first place. Until President Trump returned to office in January, the bloody and broken Biden status quo was to endlessly force American taxpayers to fund Ukraine no matter the cost, no matter how long it takes, and no matter how many lives were lost. There is no denying that Biden's America Last foreign policy moved the world further away from peace. President Trump rejected that failed approach and instead, over the last 7 months, has relentlessly pursued peace throughout his second term. And thanks to President Trump's efforts, we finally have movement after years of deadly gridlock. As you all know, there were many European leaders here, as well as Ukrainian President Zelensky. They all traveled here to meet with President Trump to maintain the momentum and work toward a lasting peace. Across the board, every leader credited President Trump for his decisive leadership that has reignited the dialogue in hopes of finally bringing this war to a peaceful conclusion. 2 quotes in particular capture the progress that was made and the optimism moving forward. Finnish President Alexander Stubb said, "I think in the past 2 weeks, we've probably had more progress in ending this war than we have had in the past 3.5 years. Again, that is the president of Finland, a country that shares a border with Russia. That's what we call the President Trump effect. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte also summed it up well. Without President Trump, this deadlock with Putin would not have been broken. He is the only one who could do this." Following the encouraging conversations yesterday, President Trump spoke with President Putin by phone, and he agreed to begin the next phase of the peace process, a meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky, which would be followed, if necessary, by a trilateral meeting between President Putin, President Zelensky, and President Trump. It's very important to remember that before President Trump's landslide victory last November, there was no end in sight to this bloodshed. Now, there may finally be light at the end of the tunnel and an opportunity for lasting peace. That's because President Trump is the peace president, and American leadership is back on the world stage. It should not be lost on anyone in this room that world leaders are coming right here to Washington, D.C. for help. While previous presidents have traveled halfway around the world to apologize for America, President Trump stands up for America, and he has firmly restored America's status as the undisputed leader of the free world.
Naomi, I want to play you a hot mic moment that many found fascinating.
That's all we ask for is fairness with the media. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for being so fair.
Thank you, Donald.
All the time.
But he loves it. He loves it. For he does it always. I never want to speak with my friend.
She says she never wants to speak to her press army. I can't say I blame her. And there was a lighter moment in today's meeting with President Zelensky and Donald Trump, and President Zelensky's attire was noted.
President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, looks good on
I
you.
said to the one that attacked you last time. See, now he said, I remember that.
I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelensky.
And in the same suit. You see, I changed. You are not.
Maybe yours is much better.
Army, Trump has overseen around half a dozen peace deals this year. Most of them no one has heard much about, really, Azerbaijan and Armenia, the Congo and Rwanda. But this is a war, the Ukrainian-Russian war, that the West, and including Americans, have been deeply invested in from the start. Can you realistically see an end to it?
Yeah, look, first of all, really quick on Trump and Meloni and the press thing. Yeah, Trump has, just to give you a point of reference, Trump did 3 times as many press conferences and interviews as Joe Biden, despite the fact that the media was an appendage, right, to the Democratic propaganda machine, and were against Donald Trump. No, he loves going up to the press. He loves the challenge. He wants to change them. He frankly likes, between you and me, he likes to have the adulation of the press when he can, the mainstream press in particular. Look, when it comes to this particular conflict, you know, it's so funny. You know, you mentioned a couple of conflicts, and I don't want to pass through them without go into more detail, because it's important stuff. I was in Rwanda. I was in Azerbaijan. I saw firsthand the level of the hatred that these two sides had for each other, and for them to come to a peace deal now after years and years of war and hatred is nothing to be passed over lightly. Those are significant things.
Oh, no.
Not to mention the Abraham Accords that he put together, right? And the fact that he took 2 even more implacable enemies, the Gulf states and Israel, to come to a peace deal. Yet, did he win Nobel Peace Prize? No, of course not. In fact, one of the Nobel Peace Prize committee members specifically called out Trump and said, I hate his immigration policy, right? When they don't really talk out. No, he has a track record of bringing implacable enemies together to create peace. So do I think peace will come during his 4 years between Putin and Ukraine? Absolutely, I do. And I don't think he'll get an iota of credit for it.
Well, he's also accused of being an isolationist, but he's just anti-war, isn't he, Army? Because he's got involved in these conflicts. Armenia, Azerbaijan, that's been going for decades, and he got involved, and there's a peace deal, and he had the 2 leaders sitting next to him signing a peace deal. So this whole notion that he's just recklessly isolationist isn't accurate, is it?
It's totally false. And by the way, much to the surprise of the isolationists in the Republican Party, who thought that's exactly what he was going to do. No, that's never been. America first does not mean America only. How many times do we have to say this over and over again? And he's the creator of America first. So I'm going to trust his version of how he's going to go about that than I do J.D. Vance or anybody else. OK, no, all that means is that we look to what we need for us. At the same time, peace through strength. When we're stronger, when we're taken care of, we have more leverage with other countries. That's exactly what we've seen him do.
Exactly.